Hello, hello. It's Amy from Seriously Sweet on Davis Street. I hope everyone is getting their alerts and notices. We are still working with a couple people to get you all set for your text alerts. We're getting a few things fixed with that, so I'll tell you about that in just a second. But if you have not signed up for our free text alerts, I only use this between 9 in the morning and 9 in the evening Eastern Standard Time. So even if some weird night I can't sleep and I pop on here to do something at 1 or 2 in the morning, you will not be getting a text message. So if it is between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will send you a text alert before we go live, okay? So let me pull that off so I can say hello, hello, hello. How is everyone tonight? I hope you are enjoying. Oh, look at this. There's so many of you on here. This is so fun. I love it when y'all jump on. Jen is here. She's going to be popping in links for us as we go along tonight. Hello, hello, Facebook user. Let's see. Hello, Teresa. How are you tonight? Let's see. I think I'm going to do a little video maybe tomorrow for you so that you'll understand that Facebook user thing that shows up. I'll see your name later on Facebook when I go back to look for comments. I just can't see you in the streaming software that I'm using unless you grant StreamYard permission to show your name. Hey, Myra, how are you this evening? Hello, hello. I saw the typo. I didn't flash the typo up, Miss Teresa. Let's see. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? And Debbie is here. Hello. Jen, text you anyway. Well, I might text you because I know you're a night owl. Hey, I have somebody from Sarasota here. Used to live in Sarasota County. So I was very close to you. I'm hearing from my family that it's super hot right now. Hello, you like the hibiscus? This is the one we're going to do tonight. We're actually going to do 2 or 3 different kinds. And we're going to run from very basic to a more advanced. Hey, Karen, how are you this evening? I hope everyone that is slowly, hey, Barbie, everyone that is returning back to work and to our old normal is adjusting well. I'm not sure if Sally's made it yet, but I know she was back in the actual office today. Hey, Becky. Hello, hello. Y'all keep communicating with each other over here in the comments. Hey, Christy. Let's just see. Hey, Allison, how are you? Yes, let's get this decorating on the road. Oh, look, and we have somebody from Alabama. I'm going to pick a random state in a little bit. And if you are on and you are from that state, you're going to want to reply in the comment area. Hey, Miss Allison, I got you there. Oh, Sally, you are here. I hope everything went well for you at work today. And let's see. Yes. Hey, Kim, how are you? It is super hot where you are. Oh, and Jen, you're under a fire warning. We had thunderstorms, but very, very light, not like the normal, really cool ones that we get. So anyway, it's really good to see all of you. Hello, hello, Idaho here. So do we have anybody on with us right now from Wyoming? Is there anybody on with us from Wyoming? Let's see. And I see Becky. Hello there. Hey, Corpus Christi. Let's see. Danielle, how are you this evening? Whew. Let's see. Alabama, Roll Tide, yes. Hey, Sally. 90's not too bad, right? It was great for us because we had rain earlier today, like downpour torrential rain, and the temperature dropped like 20 degrees. It was so nice. Hey, Elaine, how are you? San Antonio's in the house tonight. Hello, my friend from Florida. All right, so Jen is going to drop a link in for you guys. Oh, Connecticut is here too. Hello. Jen is going to drop a link in there for you. If you have not joined our new free group, it's called Cookie Snack Attack with Seriously Sweet. It's housed on Facebook, totally free. Great place for community learning, sharing. Full disclosure, I'm a complete enabler. So every time I get an email about a sale, I've been popping that in there for you. Please don't feel obligated to buy any of those things. It's just I put up my things that I use that have become favorites over the last couple of years, products that I really like, things I think you'll enjoy, or things I know we're going to be using on classes. Hey, Bev, how are you tonight? Hi, Danielle. So anyway, when the sales come up, and I know they're really good sales because they aren't, some sales are just, but then there's certain times of the year where they're like killer and you really want to get in on those. South Jersey. I love it, Bev. But Bev, aren't you moving to Florida? I'm going to take that little scroll off at the bottom. But guys, I think if you watch from the beginning, text the word live stream to the phone number 540-870-0726. Then this is what's going to happen, because this is where people are getting just a little confusing. Oh, and Sam is here from Florida. Sam is actually Culpeper native. She's in my local cookie group. Let's see if it'll pop up there. Did it come up? Hold on. Sam's here. And that means Teresa is probably there too, but they're on vacation in Florida. Let's see. Okay, so let's get back to the texting. Text the word live stream to 540-870-0726. If it works properly on your phone, you're going to immediately get back an auto reply that says something along the lines of, we've received your info, but there's going to be a link that is for the community site, which is the group that it's a texting service that I pay to house everything. This is not coming to my personal cell. It's actually a texting service. God, it's after 7 Eastern Standard Time, and I've been up since 5 and no naps today. Today is a work hard all day long day. So I've been up for quite a while. Anyway, text that number. You'll get one auto reply back that's going to say something along the lines of, it's an automated reply. I think it even says, it's Amy. I've received your request to join, but then you get a link. So if you've stopped there and you haven't gone any further, if you haven't clicked on that link and entered your information, I think it asks you for name, maybe birth date. If you don't want to give it your true birth date, fine, make something up because it's a required field, but I think it's name, birth date, city, and state. Once you do that and do the confirmation button at the bottom or the send button at the bottom, then that is the point you actually get added to the text group membership list for free. And then you'll get back a second automated reply that will tell you that you are now in the actual group. Okay. So if you have not gone that step and done the link from when you texted live stream, then they don't have your info and they've not validated you. So you're not actually in where you're going to be receiving alerts yet. That will solve some of the problems. But I did also find out in the last couple of days that there are a few safety things in place. So has something to do with your telephone service, not my service, not their service. But if you have something set up for safety blocks and things like that, there's something within the system on your end, on your telephone, where you have to give it permission to be involved in something like that. Okay. So that will help a little bit. Feel free to message me if you have trouble, but join in the list. We can add up to another 300 people for the same thing that I'm paying right now. And I'd love to have you all join me. Get in that cookie snack attack group. I can tell you right now, there's a coupon code in there for the Amazon deal days for Ann Clark for the sets of cookie cutters at 50% off. So if there's any left, because a bunch of us already bought them, there's also another deal out there right now for the bagel products. I think it was a buy 3, get 1 free, in case you missed it when we all ordered, I think last week or the week before, we all ordered when they had that really deep discount sale. And if you see good sales, pop them in there. We love to share information. And if you have feedback, if you do pop a sale link in and it's a product you really like, you've used it before, or you know what it's really good for or what it doesn't work good for, drop that information in the link too. Okay. So we're going to jump right in. Excuse me. This morning, we started out with our royal icing transfer templates, of which there were 5 for today. Jen, if you will drop those in the comment field, the link directly to the actual item, enablers, enabling enablers. I know we're going to need a support group just for us being enablers, aren't we? So anyway, you have 5 royal icing transfers for sale in my coffee shop, which is our artist site. It helps keep the live streams going and helps me pay for that texting service, all of that sort of stuff. So today, this was one of your templates for small hibiscus. This is the kickoff day for our summer series called Tiki Hot. They're all custom designs. I wonder what I did with that paper. I pulled it earlier. Oh, here. So there are 7 pieces in this series. And this is not to scale, you guys, because in this picture, they all look like they're the same size cutter. but there are at least 3 of these that are extremely large cutters. They're like 5-6 inches, like this big tiki totem, and then this big sign, which is so cool. And this sign, which is going to be our chalkboard sign. And then we've got some regular tropical things dropped in here. But by the time we get this set done, all of the colors that we're using, what we started with today, we're going to use it straight through the end. Feel free to add some more things to what you're working on if you want to. Tonight, we're going to do this cookie. Isn't this so pretty? So let me circle back to this in just a second, because this morning we started out with the hibiscus flowers. And so I've done a lot of those on here. In the video from this morning, which is day 1, part 1, I show you how to make these. Of course, they have the Bake L Tinker Dust on them because we needed some sparkle. They've also got some yellow candy nonpareils right here. Okay. So these turned out great. I made them right when we got done earlier today. And you can see I'm just barely touching them. They're popping right off these cello bags, nice and flat on the back. So we're going to set this to the side and we'll come back to it. Then the next template that we did was the stamens. And I left you a reference point here. It's the same size hibiscus that is on the hibiscus transfer so that you could see these pieces we were creating are perfect size for this. And then you also have this. Jen, this would be a great time to drop in the link directly to the Seriously Sweet cookie cutters on the Dots and Bows webpage. So Katrina and Carrie at Dots and Bows went ahead and created the designs that I made all in cookie cutters, and they're for sale on there as a set of 7. So if you order them, you can get all of them together. That way you can do the whole series. If you can print your own cutters, they have an entire file of all 7. I think it's 7, right? Let me look at this sheet again. Let me just make sure. So 7 of the custom designs that I created. And then we're also going to be working in a few additional cutters that are from Ann Clark as we go along. But I'll let you know what those are. You probably already have most of those because it's shapes that I like to use a lot throughout the year. So the Dots and Bows, let me pop this up on the screen. The link is here. But if you're on Facebook, okay, let me slow down because I'm probably talking too fast. If you're on Facebook, you'll be able to have a live link. But on here, you're not going to be able to click on the screen and go straight to that. But on the Dots and Does, I'm thinking deer because we have deer out back and the whole family was out there tonight. It was so pretty. Okay, so let me get back to this. The cutters, there are 7 in the set. They were custom designs. Dots and Bows, Katrina and Carrie set those up for me as actual cutters, and they're selling them in a set, the cutters, so you can get all the cutters. I think actually you can buy them separately too if you don't want to do all of the designs, but they have a discounted price on the website. Just scroll down on that little menu bar, find the set. If you want to get all of them, it is discounted slightly rather than buying them individual. There's also individual or set price on the STL downloads if you can print your own cutters. But here's the kicker. They're such generous people over there that they have given us a code where not only will you get the discount if you buy the whole set, you can get an additional 10% off of that by using the coupon code SS for Seriously Sweet, SS class, CLASS 10. So it'll get you an extra 10% off. And Jen, if you could drop that code in, it's SS class 10. That will get you an extra 10% off. Even if you buy the whole set and the set is already discounted, it'll get you 10% off if you buy them individually if you don't want all the cutters. But those are all custom designs. You're not going to be able to get that layout anywhere else. And it's the exact ones we're going to be focusing on as we go forward with this series, which is called Tiki Hot. So I hope you're going to join us for that too. So we did these this morning, and I popped all these in the dehydrator right after I created them with you this morning. So this, I know everyone was going to be worried about these. With this cello bag, what's so nice is you can roll it and they pop right off. So it's not as difficult as, and you see how shiny it is on the back? That's because this is so smooth. So these literally just pop right off. They're not fragile in that you can't get them off. They're not going to break. You see what I'm saying? And they're on the cello bag, so they're flat. So attaching them is going to be no problem, of course. All right, now, then we also did, and we're going to start with this one first. we did these cool hibiscus leaves. And again, there's a point of reference at the top of this template to show you that the leaf size is matched for that template. That's kind of how I lay them out. That way, you know, you don't have to resize anything. So I did these when we got off the air earlier today. I did some singles because remember I told you on these larger ones, I wanted to come in and add them. So on this cookie, this is some of the add-on pieces right here that are tucked under. So you can see on the back, they actually go off the cookie. So how pretty is that? Then we went ahead and made some of these doubles. Do you see how easy that's popping off the cello bag? So this is a double. So on one of the cookies we're going to do later, we're going to layer these leaves in around before we pipe the fancy flower using the 104 tip. So if you're decorating with me tonight, make sure you have that 104 tip that we talked about earlier. And then do you remember this template from this morning? We're going to do these cool fans, and I left it in color because I wanted you to get some ideas about doing shading because we're going to do a little painting real quick. Okay, so I made multiple sizes of these fans, and I did that with toothpaste consistency icing paste, not gel, okay? It should have no shine to it when it's this thick. It's 25 to 30 seconds with extreme manipulation to get it to settle back down and self-heal. So you can see I made multiple sizes of these because we're going to put these in the cookie at different angles on the sides. Can you see that? So that we can get some really good dimension going. But we're going to be painting all these in a few minutes. So I'm just going to, let's see, I think the easiest thing to do, because I wanted to show you all these transfers, but I think the easiest thing to do is for me to pop them off because we're going to be going back to paint them. And I don't want to do that on the cello bags. I mean, I guess you could. I just don't normally. I like to do it on a paper towel. So if any extra liquid comes off of these things, then it just gets absorbed right away. So let's pop these off. And you can see, you guys, I made these at noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I guess I did it at 1 o'clock after we got off the air and I grabbed a snack. I came back and made them. So it hasn't been that long. I ran them through the dehydrator for about an hour. Now, we don't need to do any painting or highlighting on these. You can if you want to, but we don't really need anything. So I'm going to move these off to the side as well. Let me just put a few on here so that I don't forget to use them, right? The thing is with this, if you make it, you got to keep it where you can see it. It's kind of like your tools. You got to keep it out where you can see it so you don't forget to use it. So let me just pull a few of those over because we're going to need these for the large cookies. I did go ahead and do base royal icing in several colors on the generic cutter that we're starting with, which is this cutter from Lila Loa. Okay, it's an Ann Clark cutter, Lila Loa design, but pretty much everybody has this. This has been around for quite a while. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Now, I just pulled these from some fondant cutters that I had at my store. So these they're just any teardrop shape will work, okay? But if you want to make some fondant leaves, you can use these. I really like in the store when we do platters or things for parties, I really enjoy making some smaller cookies to go along with the set in case there's a lot of kids. You don't want them to waste a big fancy cookie like this, right? Because this is more icing, more time, more detail. You have to charge more for this. So sometimes I take one batch of cookie dough, which would normally make like 24 3-inch cookies approximately. I'll take that same dough and I'll just quote them the price for what it would be for 24 3-inch cookies, but then they'll end up with a bunch more cookies if they tell me they're having kids, because I'll take a small cutter like that and I'll get my larger cookies all popped out, but then I'll cut out these smaller sizes, right? So there's little leaves. And so tonight I've just made a bunch of leaves. I did the decor on them all a little bit differently so you can see how it takes airbrush color if you want to highlight with that. If you want to paint with food gel, you can do that. If you want to take food gel and dilute it with Everclear. And I made several styles of leaves on that same cutter because I just wanted you to see how versatile it is, right? This is a totally different looking leaf than say this leaf. So here we go. So sometimes people want to know how to quote prices. I don't like to get involved in that part of people's businesses. But what I can tell you is when I know they're having a party and I know there's a lot of kids and I know that one batch will typically make 24 3-inch cookies, I'll quote them that price, but then discuss with them the alternative to use the dough until it runs out, right? Because I re-roll as I cut, to use the dough until it runs out and make a bunch of these little mini cookies. These are about 1.25 inches long, inch wide. So these are great snack size. So that gets them a bunch of fancy cookies like this to put on display. But then look, you can make a really cool, you know, after these are all decorated, you can make a really cool display platter with these, right? With the extra pieces. So for parties, just keep that in mind. And these pile up and they don't get nicked up, no damage. You don't have to worry about things breaking. So I just pulled that to show you that. It's not actually part of our lesson, but I wanted you to see it. All right. So we've gone through the stamen. We've gone through the hibiscus. Let's see, that's an extra. I printed 2 of these because I did a bunch of extra of this because I wanted to see if it broke. I was a little worried about it breaking, but they're nice and firm. We did the leaves. And remember earlier this morning, I told you I was going to show you this cool trick with the large template for leaves. So let me show you what I did here earlier today. And I'll just tell you the truth right up front. I broke one of these taking it off because it wasn't fully dried and I got anxious and I wanted to try it, and I tried it 2 hours ago and it still wasn't quite ready. So don't do that. Don't be like me about that. Just wait the appropriate time. So this is a little roller that you use for doing small fondant works, not very big, right? It's the width of the screen right there. So what I did was I put, let's see, cello bag. So my cello bag was actually, and where is the, let me show you actually the template for this. So this, again, I'm in this 3-foot area and somehow I've misplaced it. This is one of your other templates that makes this large size leaf, which we'll be working with in a little bit with this large size cookie and with the custom hibiscus design that I did that I just don't have the cutter to cut out yet, okay? So this is what I did. I piped this. So you can see I piped a double and I piped a single on here. Then I pulled this out of the bag so that I just had my cello. And of course you have to do it before this crusts so that it's very pliable. I put my roller onto my dehydrator tray. And then I took this and I formed it where I had piped those leaves. I formed it to where I would get some curve in my leaf and taped it. I just taped it down with Scotch tape, nothing fancy. This is it. You can see me. Let me pull this down so you can see me peeling it off so that it would stay in place because I didn't want it to move. My dehydrator is really good. It's pretty strong. It does blow from the back, so it always goes over the cookies instead of heating them up again from the bottom, which I love about it. However, you have to keep things in place because it's pretty strong. So then let me show you what this does. And hopefully they're dry now. Hopefully it's been long enough, but these are very, very thick. So can you see this one? I wanted to just get some motion. So you can see this, right? It's totally curved and it dried perfect. So earlier today I said, make sure that you have like a paper towel roll. If you have the center section of a paper towel roll, just cut it in half. Cut it into some like 4-inch sections so you're not dealing with that big long tube, but then cut it in half so you have basically two half pipes. And you can put your cello bag, you can do it this opposite direction, like down into those, and then pop that in the dehydrator, and then you wouldn't need this or the tape. Now, I'm going to peel this off. Do you see how easy that's coming off these cello bags? A sanitized egg crate. I don't see why you couldn't use an egg crate because this is not going to come in contact with whatever you're putting it into because it's going to be on the food safe bag. So you're probably fine. Okay, so can you see that? Isn't that nice? So what we're going to have, you guys, just so you haven't even seen the best part yet of how I laid out the bottoms, but when we put this cookie together, we're going to have this. So we're going to have this big fancy leaf coming off, and then we're going to have our dimensional piping with that 104 tip. Now, let me just give you a little hint of what's coming. So I piped everything with a layer. The cookies we're going to be doing in a little bit. I piped all of them to have an underlayer. If you'll excuse me for 1 second, you see all the diamond dust on here? This is what happens. This is literally what happens when you spray anywhere near your dehydrator sheets. So let me just pop this in here real quick so it's out of the way. And before anyone asks, I have a Sasori dehydrator. It is listed on some of the supply list that I've done previously. Okay, so Bev, specifically, I see your comment that says, so the cello bag is the key. Tell me what that means. Because the cello bag for me is that it's so flexible and that it's thin. So I pop that in the dehydrator and 4 hours later, I've got some great leaves here. Like I can already use these. They're probably not fully dry in the middle, but you saw how easily that popped off. Remember I said I broke one? This is the one I broke. So an hour ago, I discovered that they still weren't ready to come off yet. So look, I just put it back together. I glued it back together with the thick royal icing, still on the tube, still on its thing, still over the roller. And then I just put another layer over the top to give the leaf a little more dimension, but you absolutely can't tell this was broken, right? So the key in getting them super flat, yes, because I find that even the coated parchment paper wrinkles when they dry. And I also find that wax paper leaves a little bit of a film. So sometimes depending on your humidity, if that film comes off and it's attached to your royal icing transfer, then when you go to attach that to something else, more humid times, you might have problems with that staying attached. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody. I'm just saying I live in a state that has 4 different seasons, generally 3 months each. Our humidity is very different throughout the year. So it is a problem you could run into. And if you've had that problem before trying to do these on wax paper, that might be your problem. I can't diagnose everyone's problems. If I could, boy, wouldn't I be wealthy. Okay, so don't forget to show me a little love in the coffee shop tonight and get your royal icing transfer templates. I did also want to mention this summer series. These templates are building from week to week. So none of your packets are, okay, I'm going to say none. My plan is that none of your packets will have duplicates unless there's one that you just really have to have for a certain project, and I put it in there for free. So if you've purchased all along the way, you're just going to be purchasing for the newer ones, okay? Now, we tried something else earlier today. Remember in the first video, I showed you that little baking cup that I do like brownies in that has the glassine lining, which was this red and white. And then I showed you the cupcake liners that I typically use. This is a standard size cupcake liner. This is what's on your supply list. And then I showed you these minis. So, and I showed you how to cut it, how to refold it. And I have not tested these. I don't know if they're going to come off of here. If I left them overnight, I could tell you with 100% certainty they would pop off of here, no problem. But I just did these at 1:30. So we're going to attempt it, but if they break, just know you need to leave them overnight. So basically, because they have that lining on them, and I can tell you right now, this one is too wet. I can feel it coming apart in my hand. Yep, it's coming apart right there. Let's go ahead and crack it and see if we can pull it out or if it's just really too, yeah, it's too fragile all the way across. I'm going to leave this one. Let's try one of these others. So this accordion pleat that we did, we're just going to gently try to coax this off. I find that it works better with the cupcake wrappers that have the glassine lining. It seems to peel off better. Really, these just need to sit overnight. But let me just take this end piece off to show you how cool it's going to look to make your fans. But this is one of the things that is going to force you to get your icing consistency right. And it's going to test your patience because you're going to be so tempted to pull this off 4 or 5 hours later to see it because it's fun and it's a cool way to do this. Don't do it. Resist the urge. Wait overnight, okay? So important. I'm going so slow because I don't want to break this end piece because I want you to see what it looks like. But we're just going to stop right here where I cracked it and pull off just this end because I want you to see how cool this is. And this is just a regular cupcake liner. Now, if this was dried overnight, these would be super firm. There'd be no moisture in there, and this would be coming off really fast. Like when I did this to make little cupcake bases, it came right off, no issue. So let's pull this off. Love it. Okay, can you see what it did? using that mini fold. You see what we have there? So can you, in your mind, just for a moment, get visual here and imagine if this had peeled off as one whole piece? And of course, you can put it back together like it's one whole piece on a cookie. But how fun is that to make that particular fan leaf so that it actually looks like a fan leaf? Like, there's lots of ways to accomplish this. And just letting it sit overnight is going to help you. Now you can see it's popping right off. It's dry coming off here, but you can also see the center is, it's not all the same color yet. And that's how you can tell it's not dry all the way through. So just be careful, be prepared to have a little exercise in patience. Okay, because you really want the whole thing to come off together. But these are going to be so cool. Now, I am going to tell you one of the things I learned yesterday when I was practicing with this. I'm definitely going to make the icing slightly thicker, and I'm going to make them this slightly deeper, because one of the things I found when I was peeling these off is that I had a tendency, as I was trying to get the icing to go all the way up into the points, and you do that by using your, let's get this so you guys can see it. I just did this between each of the pleats with my boo-boo stick, okay, to make sure it was going up there. So my tendency, because I'm a little heavy-handed on these things, was to push too far down. And I really want more thickness where the bottom of the point is. So watch that when you're making these. And I want to show you this one. This one is still definitely too wet. The reason this one is so much more damp than the others is because this is that heavy, heavy paper from that self-standing baking kit. Let me explain that to you, because maybe you guys don't know this. If you were to put this on a tray and put your cupcake batter into this one, okay, or to this mini, or to this large monster size that we use at the store, this is not a self-contained baking cup, meaning that the weight of the dough is going to push your liner out. This is from a container that won't move. So you can bake in it and it's not going to spread out. Whatever you're baking in, it's going to come up and over, but the weight of it is not, it's not pliable. It's not going to push this out. Okay. So I wanted to test this out, but what that means is you've got a glassine lined, super thick, heavyweight paper, and it's going to take longer to dry. So it may take longer than overnight. It may be like the concrete texture that you do with parchment paper. It's just so much thicker. You might have to let it sit a little longer. And you can see right here, can you see it left a lot behind? When you peel a tester one up and you see that it's got all those little divots and that like frosty look to it, it left a lot of royal icing behind. And that's because this one is not, even though it's been on here the same amount of time, it's not getting the airflow to the icing because of this particular lining, the glassine. So this is for you guys. This is a test run. This is not the one I would come back to, because I can be patient, but I'm not going to be this patient. So when I'm working on things like this, I'm looking for things that I can do maybe 1 day ahead of time, 2 days ahead of time, and put them up. But this is not something that I would wait 2 or 3 days for and then peel it and then all of them fall apart, right? I don't have time for that. So when I'm doing these little tests for you, yes, Shanna gets it. So when I'm doing this test, just listen to those kind of things. Test it yourself if you have time. But this is not something I'd come back and use, even if it made the perfect pleat in my icing, right? Even if it was absolutely astounding. Where's that little piece? Again, I'm in the 3-foot area and the piece has disappeared. It's terrible, you guys. Okay, so you see, this is perfect. But even if it made this perfect, I would not have the patience to wait on this. I'm just being honest with you. This is a fail. This, if I was behind the store, would be a sail it moment where this would be aimed like basketball style at the large dumpster out there, so that I would enjoy the little bit of work I put into it for at least a moment. But you can see this is allowing air to pass, and that's why these are slightly drier. But again, they still need overnight, so just hang on and be patient. But what a pretty leaf. Let's try this foil one too. I suspect the foil is going to be the same situation. Oh yeah, it's crumbling in my hand. It's still super wet because the air can't pass through, right? This is much thinner, even with that little bit of coating on it. So But just imagine how beautiful that's going to be coming in from the side of your cookie. So those were the other ones that we did. Let's move that out of the way because we're not going to be using that tonight. The other ones have to dry. And then let's come back to this. Isn't this beautiful? This was the hibiscus we did earlier. And we did it in a couple of styles here. So you can see that. I'm going to pull these off. And we got to use our new Bake L Tinker Dust on these. They're so pretty and sparkly, aren't they? All right, let me get those off. I want to get all of this out of the way because now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a little bit of airbrushing because I already have them made. They're already dry. I want you to see what it looks like. A lot of you have gotten airbrushes recently, and this might help you figuring out like a good way to use these things. So this is actually Chef Master in the Neon collection. This is, I use a lot of this, so I have the super big bottle, but this is Neon Bright Green Chef Master. That's what this color is. And it is very bright. Your whole series is going to carry through with the same colors. So you're safe to get that set if you want to. We'll be using it for the next month and a half, 2 months potentially. Okay. Now, one thing I did earlier today, I'm going to show these to you so that I can stack them up. I took that basic Lila Loa cutter set and I piped us a yellow background, the neon yellow, and I piped us several of the green. And that's just because I did not want naked cookies showing. So what I did was I did the base layer, but also because where we're going to tuck those leaves in, these curved leaves and these leaves with the extra dimension, I wanted the underneath to have that backfill color in case our leaves don't match up perfectly when we're putting them in. We still want it to quick glance at it to look like it's full foliage. Now you can see on this one, we know I've planned to put my leaves in this area, so that'll be the backdrop of this, but then we're going to pipe that fancy 104 tip. We're going to do that to make our flower. So I wanted color behind the leaves, petals. And then this is fun. We're going to use some flood outline and flood consistency icing, which for me is the same thing. It's about an 18-second icing. And that means it takes it 18 seconds to do self-leveling. We're going to use that on a couple of these, and I'm going to show you a beginner way to create a hibiscus without all the extra icing, because some people just don't like all that icing. Some people make very, very firm royal icing, and they don't like that when they're biting into the cookie. So maybe this fancy cookie, 3-foot area, cookie has disappeared. So maybe this fancy cookie, you don't want them all like this because maybe people don't want all that icing, or maybe that's just too firm for them. So you'll want to make some in the set, how I'm going to show you to make these. So I made a couple just regular white ones. And then we have a white with the green so that you can see the difference when you add the leaves. And then I did a hot pink one. So we've got several things going there. I'm going to set these off to the side. We're not going to do all of these tonight. I'm going to give you some examples, but you can go back and watch the video to see how I divided it up. Okay. Let's see. I've got people coming and going in my people and little 4-legged critters coming and going in my cookie studio right now. I know you can't hear them, but I'm sure that that you're at least seeing me turn because I'm just trying to make sure no one escaped out the back door. All right. So this is the really fancy one we're going to do tonight. And I did a little extra painting on it before we came live just to make sure these were going to be dry enough to work on. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pop back to these cookies, and I'm going to show you some different ways to get some dimension on these cookies by airbrushing or doing a little painting. So over here to the side, I have put out a little bit of the neon green, just the gel. This is neon green with some Everclear. This is neon pink with some Everclear, and this is just straight neon pink. So you can decide how you want to paint these. Some people don't like to paint with straight food gel because in their area, it doesn't dry. So then they have to add the cornstarch to get it to where they can bag it. But in my area, you can see this is totally dry. This is straight food gel that I used on here. It dries perfectly fine. I don't ever have to dust with the cornstarch. I think I said syrup, but I meant starch if I said that wrong. So I don't have to do that, but you know, if it was still tacky, honestly, I'd just add some more diamond dust to it. Diamond dust or Bake L Tinker Dust, and it'll just pull it away. Now, the Everclear evaporates super fast, so it's a great one if you want a watercolor look. That way you can kind of thin it out a little bit. But let's jump in with some airbrushing. And then this one, you guys, I took a black marker and in the grooves, I added a little bit of black edible ink. And then I went immediately back with just straight Everclear and fanned it out. And then I went back and I dry dusted with some of the, and you don't need these, you don't have to have them, but we had a lot of people get these last week when they were on sale. So I told them I would show them how to use them tonight. This is the Tinker Dust. I just went back with this after I had done the Everclear and just did a dry brushing straight onto this cookie to get that shimmer because it's just pretty. So pretty. Yeah, you can dust with the powdered sugar too. I guess you could do either one. It just depends on what works for you in your area. I don't ever have to do it, so I can't comment a lot on that. But this is perfectly dry, and I did it a half an hour before we came on at 7, okay? So let's jump in with some airbrushing. This one, you guys, I went ahead and hand painted just to show you the difference of what these cookies would look like next to each other. Do you see how this, like, no, you don't see any cookie here at all, right? And on this one, you have the naked cookie underneath the leaf. And you can see I also piped these leaves differently. This is a different leaf than this. Also meant to look different than this. A teardrop shaped cutter also makes a great, is it Monstra? Is that how you pronounce it? You know, the palm leaf that's so popular for tropical sets. So this one cutter, you can get a lot of different looks. So you just have to look around, get some ideas, play with it, and get your icing right. Your icing is critical to this. So this, of course, was all back and forth piping, which I showed you earlier today. I did my outline, and then I immediately came back with a zigzag and filled, and that way it gave me the illusion of having that center line. But really, yes, Monstera leaf, that's it. Thank you so much for helping me. So let's jump in on these. I'm going to move this beautiful little flower out of the way because, you know, it's airbrushing and Amy, so it could go everywhere. I'm going to get a full, get a full paper towel here so that this doesn't shoot up onto my computer as we're doing this. I need a bigger 3-foot area, but I like to keep everything where I can reach it. So that's why the area has come in on me like this. So let's swap on top of here. And I really want you to see this. Now, I will tell you, I used glowing green airbrush color the first go round, but it's so close to the neon green that you really can't tell on camera. In person, you can tell that you get a little bit of difference, but on camera, you can't really tell the differentiation that gave me. So this is one I did earlier. We're going to go back now and we're going to do it with forest green. So because this is so much darker, you guys, spill everything. Look, that's blue airbrush color from yesterday. Totally lost my train of thought. Sorry, Jen. She's typing funny comments and I can see them. Okay, so this is like a game now, right? You're going to try to distract me. Okay, so, forest green is going to be so much darker. Let me show you what it looks like when you spray it straight onto a paper towel. You're not going to need as much. I had to go really heavy to even get any shading because it's technically the same color. So can you see this? If we do the forest green, we're going to have to be really careful when we airbrush because I've switched to the only other green I have in the Cookie Studio just so you can see it. So we're going to pop in with this. I'm using my basic. Now I have 3 airbrush guns now. They're all cordless. They're all single action. I love all of them. My brand new one is my favorite. Miss Judy Pacina gifted it to me and it is hot pink. It's so cute. I do feel real fancy when I'm using it. I love it. It makes me happy. However, hey Nadine, I didn't know you'd made it here yet. This one, for whatever reason, this was the very first one that I got and it's linked on your supply list. This has lower air pressure. So this is the one I use when I do shading. It's not so much about which color gun for what colors in there for me. It's which I know they all have slightly different air pressures. Even if they're fully charged, they have slightly different air pressures. So what we're going to do is work with this one. Knowing I have this darker color, we're going to use the one that has less air pressure. All right, so what we're going to do here, I'm testing it here. Can you see? Let me get up here where you can see it. Do you see that color? So what I'm going to do is just lightly go around the edges because I'm just looking to put a little dimension to these cookies, right? And you can do this fast. Like icing these cookies, I did about 15 of them in just a couple minutes, right? And now what I'm doing is just highlighting. Can you see? Let me lift it. So it knocked down the blonde color of the cookie, so it's not so bright, which I like. You might like to see the naked cookie, so that's okay. But you can see how that dark color, now we've got all this dimension going, plus the dimension and texture from where we piped it that really specific way. So let's start setting these off to the side. Let's see what it does on this leaf. This leaf has no airbrushing, no gel coloring, nothing. And this is where a bottle exploded on me. I promise you my hands are clean. So we're going to start. Hopefully you can't even hear this gun. This is also the one that makes the least amount of noise. Am I in frame there? So you can see that little shading. All right, I'm going to be super careful and try and go right up the middle. There we go. Let's lift that up. So I've knocked the blonde down. We've added shading, and look, we have that nice highlight in the center. Isn't that pretty? So that makes it look just a little more natural to me. All right, let's pull this one up that we did earlier. So you saw this one. This is my only caution to you when you're experimenting, and you definitely should experiment so that you know what your go-to is. Can you see the difference in the sheen of the cookie on the right versus the sheen of the cookie on the left? The one that is very dull looking, this one, I hope it's on your left. It might be flipped. I'm not sure. But this cookie, I did this with diluted food gel and Everclear. So you can see that Everclear, even though it's great, if you want that very matted look and a very flat look to the cookie, it's perfect for that because the Everclear just basically takes that sheen right off your cookie. Whereas the airbrushing, can you see from the light being on it, can you see how much shine I still have on that cookie? These are the same cutter, iced the same way. This one was hand done with the gel and the Everclear, and this one has airbrushing on top of where I just let the regular icing dry. So you see the difference, just that little bit. If you're too far into an order before you realize something like that could really frustrate you, because this is so pretty. And if you're serving, like if you're having a luau or a barbecue or a Hawaiian themed party and you're outside, you're going to want the sheen on your cookie. You're not going to want to cut that gloss off there because you want the sunlight to pick it up when it's outside. And then remember this one. This one we did, I did not have my green edible ink marker here, so I used the black, and then I thinned it out with Everclear, and then I went back and added some dust. So I've got that really nice dark one. If this was on a large leaf, I would be layering these, the darkest ones at the back, bringing the lighter ones up, and then my pretty flower on top. So it'll be great for photographs. Let's just knock a couple of these out real quick. How about we do this little guy? Oh, there we go. So we're just barely hitting. Can you see that? I'm just barely using that darker color. So see what that does? It's still shiny, but I've got a little bit more interest on this cookie because I've added that color. Now, where it really shows up, you guys, no joke, shows up big time, is on these cookies that we piped with this extra texture, okay? Now, I figure I've got airbrush ink or gel all over my hand as it is, so it's not going to hurt me to do them like this. If you don't want to risk touching it and getting it on your hands, first of all, you can just wear gloves. But if not, then put it on a turntable, put a paper towel over it, and that way you can just keep taking the paper towel and rotating it, okay? But this will give us some nice interest. Let me lift this so you can see. So pretty. Gives you just a lot of bang for your buck right there. Plus, you've got these little bite-sized pieces. Don't go too heavy on the airbrushing if it's a wedding, because a darker food gel like this, that is going to stain teeth, tongues, lips, you know, that sort of stuff. So obviously don't do this in a super dark color. Now, let me show you the difference. Same icing. Can you see the difference from just that little bit of airbrushing? See? So now we're going to hit these little dimensional ones because then we're going to circle back and put some of our cookies together. So on this, all I want to do is go around the edges. So if you need to, we curved these. You can watch further back in the beginning of the video to see how we did that, right? Just go ahead and you could have airbrushed these truthfully, right on the cello bag if you wanted to, but that part of our video earlier was showing you how easy they come off that bag. And I'm just giving it a little bit of highlight. I'm staying about 6 inches back, light brushing. Look at the difference though between these two, just that little bit of airbrushing. I don't know if you can tell on the camera as much as you can in person, but it just pops. It gives it another pop, and it's nice and shiny, very pretty. So let's put a little bit on this one. And then I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to do just a couple. I want it a little darker on the edges because remember I explained that we're going to attach this to the perimeter. We want it to come off those hibiscus cookies. This is specifically formatted for the cutter that I designed, but it will also work with this Ann Clark cutter and the Lilaloa design that everybody pretty much has because the cutter's been around for a bit. Now, I am not spraying this whole thing and changing the color. I'm just giving it more dimension by going down the center and around the edges. So you can see that little bit of airbrushing, what it does to this. Isn't that so pretty? So just another way to use your new airbrush gun. Enabler alert, buy an airbrush gun. I love them. All right, let's do just a little bit on these. Just going to hit the edges. Now, you can go darker if you want to, depending, for instance, later in this series, when we make our signs, you're going to want to do these a little bit darker because they're going to be in the back and then you're going to come forward with flowers. They're also, when we make a bunch of these now, if you want and put them up, they're going to be placed into your sign at an angle. So a couple of those big plaque signs that we're doing, they're going to be in there at angles. So that cookie literally can be put up for a cake topper. You can add pieces to the back to make it a 3D tiki hut. Some of those cutters, you'll be able to use your rectangles to do that. And then, but just go ahead and make a bunch of these now. You're going to need these little leaves for the entire series. So it's better to just have them made and go ahead and make a bunch of your hibiscus. And I would recommend making these hibiscus flowers in the neon pink and the neon yellow. And then just switch out your centerpiece here. Maybe do a white stamen in it with the yellow beads and then the yellow flower. If you are feeling super festive and you can figure out how to layer it in your bag, it's not something I'm going to show you how to do in this series. But it is quite beautiful if you mix the neon yellow and the neon pink before you pipe out of that 104 tip by filling up each half of the bag and then piping that out because it just comes out beautiful. All right, so let's move on. We've got these ready to go. Now we're going to come back to our big cookie. Not that I am not enjoying spending time with you, but we are almost at an hour. And I notice we have the same amount of people, so I feel good about that. You guys are hanging with me for the whole tutorial. But it's also Tuesday night and you probably have some other things you need to do tonight, right? It's early in the week. So your Tuesday is like my Monday. Monday is my actual day off. And then I do video and classes on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'm in my store on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So my week is long, but it's a good week because I get to split it up to 2 different kinds of work. So for me, very fun. All right, let's circle back here really quickly. I'm going to sketch on here using a black marker. I would not normally do this. If this was for an order, what I would use is my fondant pick. It's a long fondant needle. It's a fondant needle, but I use it like a scribe because it's super sharp on the end. So let me show you what I'm talking about, and then you figure out how you best want to accomplish this. So there's a lot of designs out where you can make this work. And, you know, each of the petals on a hibiscus has an odd number of like little ruffles. So we're going to stick with 3. We don't want to overcrowd this cookie. So let's find our center part. This is where we're going to anchor the stamen eventually. So I'm just marking it for a point of reference. I'm going to draw in black marker. We are going to pipe over this area where the black marker is. But if I was doing this for an order, I would either do this in a very pale yellow or I would just sketch it with this. I would sketch into the icing so there's no ink on it at all. But I'm going to leave that up to you. It's also the other reason that I really like to base coat all of these cookies no matter what I know I'm going to put on top. So let's come out from here with my fine point, and we want to make 3 ruffles up in the top. And we're going to come down, and then we're going to come back up. We want to get a little curve in here, a little curve action going on. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this design before, right? So let me curve this a little bit more. Let's do this, and we're going to do a little in here, right? So we're going to pipe in this area where I've colored. We're going to fill that in with the color in just a minute. We're going to leave that white exposed. It'll be the lowest layer, and we're leaving this edging. We'll come back and put some leaves here later, but we're coming off where we know we're going to put that down. Okay. So coming off that, let's get a little curve to it. Let's get my 3 little ruffles up here, a little curve coming back in. You see what I'm doing? Okay, girls, you're all right. So I'm just anchoring from this point where I know the stamen's going to be. Can you hear my girls talking to each other? This is their grooming time of the night. They're the best little dogs. They're Parmesans. They're half Pomeranian, half Bichon. They have great temperaments and rarely talk, which I love. I do enough for everyone in the family. Just saying. So we'll come in here. We're going to do a curve. And you can see I'm freehanding this. If you're not comfortable with that, then just find a little projector or your phone even. Do that stencil, that tissue transfer method that we talked about. What did we do that on? On the Shiba Inu video, I show you how to do that tissue transfer method that we learned from Amber at Sweet Am. So you can do that if you need to, like get a design that fits your cookie, and then you can use that to make these little lines. But this is really beginner level because it's not difficult what you're doing with your icing. So I've got that white background. We've got the stamens from earlier, right? And we know we're going to want this like this. And can you see it's made to be a little longer than the cookie? So it's going to be really nice. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to do this in my neon pink. So I'm just going to purge the tip of this bag. I used it earlier. Typically what I do, guys, if these set up is I don't like to push it back up in the bag. That's just me because I tend to get it all over me. So what I like to do is just grab the bag and pull that little bit at the end out. And then if I haven't used it in a few hours, while I've got a hold on the end, I just go ahead and do a little more mixing with my hand just to make sure I haven't had any separation in the last few hours. And then I check it on the paper towel. Okay. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and get to filling this in. And what I'm going to be doing, this is a flood outline consistency icing, so about 18 seconds. So I'm going to pressure pipe and fill this in so that I don't have to outline and flood. And you'll see how nicely this comes together if your icing is right. So I'm putting enough pressure to go fill those lines. Can you see that? So I'm just doing enough pressure. And if I'm not quite to, again, this would not actually be ink on the icing if I were doing this for an order, but I am having to be super careful because I did that to show you the design. So this is going to marry up very well. But this cookie is going to force you, if you decide to do it this way, it's going to force you to get your icing consistency right. And it's also going to allow you time to practice your pressure piping. Okay. I think I'm in frame. Now, if you've used a marker to mark your area and you can still see it, then just quickly grab the scribe tool. You guys know that if I'm doing these for the store, every time I pick this up, it costs me money. I can't make as many. The cookies aren't as profitable, and you know they're very labor intensive anyway. So every time you pick a scribe up when you're planning your designs, you need to figure that into your cost. Now, can you see this? See how pretty it looks? So let's keep going. I'm going to skip over to this area and give that just a second to crust because I'm concerned if I come straight across there this quickly that it's going to heal itself and come all together. So I'm going to leave a little separation here, and I'm piping to fill those lines. What's so perfect about this icing, did you see what I just had to do right there? I can use the tip of the bag and get that to marry back together right there. Isn't that nice? So we're doing that nice arc, trying to stay enough away that it doesn't fully come back together. It's so pretty. You can do this straight onto the naked cookie, but honestly, it's so pretty to have this background icing underneath it. It's so nice to have that showing through, and it makes the cookie so shiny. All right, let's come around here. We'll start with this one. Now, Jen, I hope you're still on here with me. Please don't let me go so far down the path after I put these next 2 sections on here that I forget to put the stamen on while these sections are wet. Because this, I don't want to add any extra icing because I don't want it lifted up above the cookie a lot. So I need to put it on so it adheres to these sections while I already have icing going on the cookie, okay? You see what that does? And you see how nicely it's settling down without me shaking or swooshing it or any of that, doing the shake, shake, shake with it. So here we go. We're going to come right in here. Guys, please be quiet. It's just your dad. It's just your dad coming back, so everything's fine. I've told them they're okay. I hope they understood me. We'll see. Brian went up to the store to grab something for me, so whenever he comes back in the house, they tend to flip out and tell me, you know, that someone's out. They're my little guard dogs that run and hide if something actually was going on, but it's enough of a distraction that I can do what I need to do. You see how quiet they're being? So they did understand me.
Oh, yeah, it was French vanilla.
Babe, I'm gonna thank you for getting that for me. Okay, so see that section? You see how pretty this is though, you guys? How nice is that? All right. Now, I don't mind taking my time to do the pressure piping because that's really all there is to this cookie. And the icing is really quite perfect tonight with this. You can see it's self-healing all on its own. I'm not having to do a lot of coaxing to make that happen. But you see what a pretty design we have on that white background. And now what we're going to do is come in right now and we're going to drop this stamen in. Remember, we started everything off-centered because we needed that little bit of extra room and we want it to come off the cookie because, I mean, honestly, how pretty is that it's coming off the cookie? You can't do that if you don't make the royal icing transfers though. So another good plus to making the transfers. Now I'm just going to use this and gently coax this down into the icing just a little bit because I want to make sure that that is fully attached. When this dries, all you'll have to worry about is protecting that end. So this is not a cookie that I would do if I was going to bag these. But if I'm doing something for a party and it's going out in a large box and then my customer is going to be putting it out on a platter, then I don't have to worry about that. And sometimes they specifically ask for things to be done in a box, and then I put it in a big food safe shrink wrap bag and seal the whole thing rather than individually heat sealing them. Okay, and did you see what I just did here where this came together a little too much? If you're patient, you can come back with your scribe and you can separate this as that icing starts to set up. It gives it a really cool look. It's almost like sculpting your royal icing when it's crusted over, and it gives a whole nother look to the cookie. If you want to do that rather than these rounded edges, can you see that? So I'm going to do that just so you can see it. If this was a whole bunch of cookies, I would not do this. But I think it's fun for your fancier pieces to just take a little bit of extra time with them. Plus, I'm kind of getting to the point in my cookie career that I like to spend the extra time on the cookies. I don't like to bang out a bunch of $3 cookies. I like to do the really fancy artsy cookies. So for me, this works out great to be able to have the time and the payment that allows me to work like this. But I know that that's just not the case in all areas. So you find something that works for you, because you need to be charging appropriately. So isn't that a pretty little cookie? So this would be more like beginner level cookie. And then we're going to move on to something like this. So you see the difference. Same exact cookie cutter we used. We used the Ann Clark Lila Loa that comes in that Hawaiian set. But you can see just how different you can make that same cookie look, right? So let's move this one off to the side. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pop this in the dehydrator so that I don't forget to do it later, because we want it to crust over. Those are small areas and we don't want to worry about getting craters, right? Not after we've done all that work. So let's move on to one of our two-tone cookies. All right. And we're going to move on and we're going to do this type of piping, and we're going to use the 104 tip. So earlier today, I told you a tip about this. I left it in here so you could see what I was talking about. This is dry, and no matter how much pressure I put, that end is not coming out. So earlier I told you a little tip so that you would not have to put anything up into the tip of your bag. So I'm using distilled water in my little sprayer. This is the water that I use to thin out my icing when I'm mixing icing. And I intentionally let that dry out because I wanted to show you that just that little bit loosens it up. And look, I did not have to put anything up into the tip, so there's no chance I'm damaging it. If you have the fancier PME tips, you know they're like $5 and $6 a piece. So you just want to be super careful with those to not notch them. I have just this much of the proper consistency icing left for tonight. So we're just going to do this one cookie in this manner, okay? But before we start the cookie, I want to go ahead and attach that large leaf right here. So it's going to make it a little more difficult to pipe. Just know that. But do you see this? What I was talking about how I want to see that green color underneath? I'm going to go ahead and attach this because when I get to this part, I want to pipe right on top of those leaves. So this has to already be in place. So I'm going to use my thicker consistency green icing. I always try to use the same color underneath as what I'm attaching or attaching to, so that if it smushes out, you can't really see it, okay? So just holding this in place and having that curve, I know that this is the part that's going to touch the cookie. So that's where I'm going to put the majority of my icing. I will put a little right here, but I've got a little notch in that, so it may not attach as easily. And so that's why I divided this cookie up with my base icing in 2 colors, because I want this green to be showing underneath. So now you can really tell that we highlighted this with airbrushing details. You see that? Everything okay there? So I'm just going to give it a second, make sure it's attached. If you've used too thin of an icing to attach it, the weight of this is going to make it fall off the cookie. So you'll know when you're doing it. And if it is too damp, then go ahead and take a paper towel and take that icing off, because it's going to cause everything to start collapsing. You really need to take the time to get the proper consistency icing. Now, when this dries, you'll have to break these pieces off to get them off. That you would have to break them because this is going to be basically royal icing cemented to the cookie below it. Now, this should hold for me to show you this. So can you see how much dimension we got by adding that specialty leaf that we made? Isn't that beautiful? So how pretty is this going to be? Now, truthfully, you want to get a little artsy, you could just put a little stamen on here. You could be done with this cookie right now. You could have spent all your time and energy making the fancy leaves. Everybody is going to go crazy over that cookie. Really, if you want to stop, you can. But for us tonight, we're going to come back and we're going to use the 104 tip, and we're going to do this. We've got 5 petals sections in our cookie, and each of those 5 sections has 3 ruffles, right? So 3 ruffles, and up and down, up and down, up and down with the 104 will make the 1 petal. Then we're going to give a little break, do the next petal, right? And you'll see how this is going to go. I am going to try to do it on a turntable. I did not use a turntable earlier, but I think it's going to make it a little easier with this leaf. And hopefully I can do this with the leaf attached, because it's a lot easier to pipe over it. And that way it helps attach to the cookie. Now, also, I am doing the wider end of my tip towards me and the thinner end out, because I want that nice thin, that paper thin edge on my ruffle. So let me see if I can get a hold of my bag to where I can keep it out of camera for you. And we're going to start right in the center. We're using the 104, even though it's a cookie, because we want that nice 1/4 inch. You see that nice 1/4 inch on each side? So it'll fill a lot of area. So we're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. Look at that, coming back to the center. Isn't that so pretty? Am I the only one that gets excited about this? Because when I find these little design tricks, I just really love it. So now we're going to do, again, up and down, up and down, up and down with the 104. Thicken towards me, thin in to the outer edge of the cookie. We're going to make a separate petal by doing that motion, okay? But the 3 together make 1 hibiscus petal. And because my icing is a great consistency, I'm getting all that extra ruffle in each of the ruffles. Isn't that so fun? All right, so we're going to come back. Now, one thing I'll tell you, I can see right now I messed up on the cookie. I don't think you're going to notice when the cookie is done, but let me just tell you what it is if you haven't guessed yet. I used 2 of the petal sections, and I did my 2 leaves. And because in my mind, I always think to cover areas where things join, I only made 1 petal here. So what we're going to have to do here is try to squeeze in 3 more petals so we have 5 finished petals when we're done, okay? So just keep that in mind. It's recoverable, but I should have actually done 2 sets of 3 right there. So you can see I'm keeping them real tight. Now, probably no one else is going to notice that, but I did a lot of research on what the hibiscus looks like and all of that sort of stuff. So I noticed it right away after I started looking at this and spinning it. Probably no one else is going to notice it. Don't freak out about it. All right, let's try to get 2 in here. So we're going to have to make them both a little more compact, okay? And I'm also on camera trying to work around this leaf, which I want you to see this, you guys. Seriously, can you see that's sticking up like 2 inches? But do you see how nice it is that we flooded underneath? So we have that pink underneath. It's just so pretty. All right, so let's get in here. I'm going to try to get these really close together. 4th petal. Okay, so you can see why we need the 5. The 5, that odd number, we really need that. All right, now I'm trying to work around this leaf that's standing up. Oh, look, okay, we did it. So we have 5 3s going around here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we managed to get it in, but if we had used our spacing up here the way I should have, it wouldn't have been so tight, okay? So that's on me. I just didn't catch it. Let's pull one of the large stamens. Now, we've already got this coming off the cookie really tall. We know we're not bagging this cookie, so get the most outlandish one that you have, right? The one that's the biggest, or it's going to stick out the furthest. Make sure it's totally dry so that when you do attach it, it's not going to pop off. And look, let's do this. Have you ever actually seen a hibiscus, you guys? If you have, you know that this centerpiece in the actual plant, oh, I broke it. Okay, hold on. Still fixable. Just need to find the proper tool. How does this happen? I cleaned up before. I should stop cleaning up from one live to the next on the same day. Look, just pull this out. Okay. We're going to use the other one. This is why you make extra. So if you've ever actually seen one of these plants, this thing sticks straight out. It's not leaning over like we make it look to make it look 2-dimensional. So I'm actually going to put it in here like it would be on the plant. And I went down into the icing and then over underneath a little bit. And we're going to see if we can keep that lifted. Look how pretty. Isn't that a pretty focal cookie for your set? Look at that. Can you see all that you have going on? Look, it's so nice. I love it. Okay, now you could, if this is like the main cookie, you could immediately come back in here and you know those little leaves that we did, you could add it. But this is where I have to make a judgment call. Make it sweet tea. I'm going to make a judgment call because there are times where you can put too much on a cookie. So you have to start to learn when to step back and look at it and say that is done. But we're not there yet. We're done with adding pieces to the cookie, but we are not done adding sparkle because how cool is that going to be? Now we've got this speckled airbrush highlight going on our leaves. We've got this stamen, which is kind of popping right out of the cookie. How about we go ahead and put a little diamond dust on here? Make sure this is working right because we need this. Now, listen, you don't have to have the pink. I'm using the pink. But I'm going to show you on 2 different petals and then lift it up so you can see. I'm going to do the pink on this side, and then I'm going to do the white diamond dust on the other, because this has been in a lot of your previous supply lists, so you might already have this. By the way, what makes this shimmery is the mica that's in it. This is FDA approved. I know not enough glitter. I just want to show you two different things on the cookie so that you can decide what you want to do. All right. And I'm not getting it towards the stamen because we've already got candy on the stamen there. Okay. Now, also, guys, if your icing is not thick enough that it will stay up like this whole trick with the stamen is not going to work, because what's going to happen is the moisture from your petals is going to transfer back into that transfer, and you're either going to get color bleed or this thing is going to fall over. It's not going to stay up like this. So let's look at this. Put some more pink on there because I feel like my pink might, give me just a second, y'all, because I feel like this pink is clogged. So if you have these little deals, just to pull it out and tap that little bit and then hit it again. Oh yeah, there we go. You can tell when they're clogged. You know when it's not flying up in your face and in your nose. Okay, so look, I'm going to lift it. So on the left is the pink. You can kind of tell it's pink. And then on the right, you've got the white. So you can do this on a cookie, do a test cookie, see what you like. This would be a cookie that I would be putting out in the sun. So I would be going for this white because you can see how much more it's reflecting underneath the LED lights that I'm using, the camera lights. That's what it'll do in the sun. So it's going to be even more reflective. Now, Bev, this is not a cookie. This is a focal or showpiece cookie. This is something I would provide if, for instance, if the bridal magazine was having a Hawaiian tropic wedding or a tropical wedding. These are cookies that I would put in individual boxes where I had full height clearance and clearance where nothing would bump the side, because these would be feature cookies, right? These would be specialty things in the center of the platter. Now watch this. See? Do you see how much we have going on this cookie? And all of that was because we took the time to do those royal icing transfers. So it seemed like it took a lot of time this morning, right? And you guys, because I want to photograph this tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and hit the whole cookie with the white so I don't forget, because I want that sparkle tomorrow. Hopefully it's not going to rain tomorrow, so I'll be able to get outside. And I'm very close to the cookie applying this, and I'm also hitting that underneath pink. The only other thing that I would consider doing to this cookie at this point, and it is totally up to you whether you do it, but I am going to be photographing this. So in the photograph, you may see it done this way. I would completely consider coming back and doing this little bit of highlight, that darker color, like right down in there, and that would finish this cookie off. But you can see these two cookies next to each other. They're both quite beautiful, but you can see how much more elaborate the one on the right is from the one on the left. So it's up to you if you have costed properly. It's up to you if you want to spend this much time on a cookie. Is the cookie for you? Is it for your child's wedding? Is it a paid wedding? Like, you have to know, and you have to offer your customer options, right? So do we want a really low profile cookie we can bag, like the one we just put in the dehydrator? We just put that, do our little design on there, drop a stamen on, and it can go right in the dehydrator. It's really fast. Or do we want something middle of the road like this? And technically this is not middle of the road because we've got these extra pieces added on, but it is low profile, so it would be something easier. I did my highlighting, Christy, with an airbrush tonight. So that's a little bit earlier in the video. So this, you can paint though. We can paint a leaf really quick just so you can see it on a cookie. But this, isn't that so cool? Just take a look. Look at everything we could accomplish with that cookie. You just literally made an edible piece of art if you attempted this. So watching further back in the video, you're going to see why we have our colors like this too. Let me show you a few more backgrounds. I'm not going to do these cookies tonight, but I want to show you what I did. So this one I separated with just one area for a leaf because I was thinking, where's 3-foot area, and I've lost it. And I only made 2 of them. So how silly is that? So this one, I was thinking I'd use this big single leaf on this one and come back and do the piping, right? And this we highlighted with airbrush. We want the other undercolor to be the same as the leaf. So I piped that there. That's how I decided to do that. But you guys know what else is so cool on this cookie if you are into it? You know that new roundhouse? I don't know if it's new or not, but it's really making the rounds right now on Facebook and Instagram, that roundhouse where it's one continuous line to make your design. I have a stencil, a template that's going to come out just as a freebie. We're not going to actually do it unless I get time to do it. It's not part of the big set, the Tiki HOT Series that we're doing. But I did come up with a design to do a hibiscus in the roundhouse. So I'm going to put that in there in case you want to practice. But doing that wet on wet technique and roundhouse right on top of here and then popping this on, how pretty would that be? How pretty would it be to use, for the people that have it, to use their projectors and project little hibiscus that you could do just in a black line art on top of this white, and then add this 3D leaf. Totally different artistic style of cookie, right? So cool. So there you have that one. We have the white, so we can do whatever color we want on there. This one I did all green. I did a couple all green in the background. So I'll play with these tonight and put a few together so you can see final pictures because you get the idea now. But this I thought would be really pretty to have that all green so that I could go back and you remember the fan leaves? We could come in with the fan leaf at an angle on this cookie. We can do the little hibiscus leaves, and these are actually true look to what a hibiscus leaf would look like. You could also take the time and round out these little ones, but I thought this would be really pretty. And then piping the green on top of pink, it just channels the 80s for me with the pink and green polo, which is just a fun summertime memory. So drawing on a happy memory like that too is also fun when you're doing cookies. This one, I did a yellow just because I had a bunch of neon yellow. And actually I was testing this to try something on this texture on the top. I don't like how it turned out, the thing I was testing, so I won't be doing it again. I'm not going to share it with you because I think it would really screw up your cookies unless you just wanted this particular thing. But I am going to do these. I'm going to do a cluster of these little guys mixed with leaves on top of this yellow, right? And just use the background shape, which suggests hibiscus, right, when you look at it. And then I'm going to work in an odd number and put a little cluster on top of it because look how gorgeous that is. So you'll be seeing that in the photos tomorrow too. And by doing that on top of the yellow, which was a test cookie for something else, you're not going to be able to see what happened to the top of the cookie, what I was testing out there, okay? So when I get that little technique perfected, I promise I'll come back and show you, but it did not work the way I wanted to on this cookie. So this yellow in the back with the tiny ones, again, something really cool to add to the set. So you're going to see these a lot of different ways. So I think that's all the background for that. We talked about this. I'm going to go back and airbrush a little bit of highlight on these fans, and these fans are meant to come at an angle. You guys do need to get this template set because everything that's in this template set carries all the way through all 7 of the designs. Some piece of it is going to carry all the way through. So the one, if you figured out the one that's a coconut drink, even that design has a banana leaf, a monstera leaf, it has a fan leaf, and it's got either a hibiscus or the plumeria. When the plumeria royal icing template will come out the week that we first use it. But this base set, this set is going to carry all the way through all of them. As we're moving along and going through the other cutters in the set, and Jen, if you want to drop that in again, the link to Dots and Bows and the coupon code, you can do that now. But as we're moving along, what's going to happen is this set's going to carry through all of them, and then new ones are going to get introduced in the coffee shop each week as we need them for that design. And then those are meant to build and go into the next one so that by the time we get to the very end, we're going to have a little contest. I'm going to name one of the cutters in the set, and we're going to let you guys just go from scratch using all the tools and techniques that you learned and come up with your own designs. Because I think it's really fun to reproduce someone else's design to make sure you can learn the technique and how to do it. But then it's so much more fun to come back and look at that cookie while it's fresh in your mind, while you have the colors, and make it your own. And then look at that next to everyone. That's how we all help each other grow and learn. So look at that. I'm telling you right now, though, this, I hope nothing happens to this cookie tonight because this is going to be my favorite cookie. That's just so cool. I hope someone pops up soon and is going to have a tropical themed wedding this summer and let me do some really fancy stuff like this. Okay, one quick time. Let's look at this again. These are not to scale. Some of these are much larger, and these are all just printed on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. But this, for instance, this is like 6 inches long and 5 inches tall. It might even be 6.5 inches. This is very big. And that is so I can talk to you about how to turn this into an upright cake topper or to use it as a plaque. But we're going to talk about that, how you can do that too. This is a 6-inch tall tiki man that we're going to make. So when you get this, don't worry. I know it looks like a lot of little intricacies, but with your royal icing transfer templates that you're going to get out of the coffee shop that week, we're going to be able to do his mouth. So you can do his mouth ahead of time. So you can do a lot of different colors, a lot of different designs. So I've thought through all of those things for you. Okay. I love it when people reproduce my exact cookies. Just make sure you tag me, tell people where you saw it, bring more people to the group. We just want to keep increasing our group number, because the more people we're exposed to and the more different cookiers at different levels that we have, the more that we can learn and bounce ideas off each other. So really fun. Now, did I miss anything? Let me just look around my little work area. I think we used everything we created earlier. Your little bonus for tonight. Let's see, Bev, how often are each of the classes in this series? Okay, so here's the plan. You will have these cutters each week going forward for the next 7 weeks. So almost 2 months. There's going to be other nights, though, not in my Tuesday series, because every Tuesday is Tutorial Tuesday. You get part in the morning, all the bits that you have to make up and have ready ahead of time, and then the final assembly and like the work we just did tonight, that's the second part. And the reason I'm breaking it down like that for you is because I kind of want you to get in the habit. I mostly have people asking me, like, how can I do this and make this faster? I'm trying to get you in the habit of thinking about how you can use royal icing transfers to improve both the design, the texture, the dimension to your cookies, to where you can do a lot of things ahead of time if you just start planning. So in the morning, we do all of your prep work. We talk about your icing consistency, and that's at noon on Tuesdays, Eastern Standard Time, and that is always under an hour. That is all your prep work. We talk about different ways to accomplish these things. Then that gives you time to practice and get your templates downloaded and get your icing ready, all of that. What's nice about this series is you're using all the same colors going forward. Your supply list is going to change very little from week to week. We may add in some stencils as we go along. We may add in some different airbrush colors. I'm going to go off the air and in this video, and then I'm going to pop back on for about 15 minutes to show you some product that I got in. My Killer Zebras package arrived, and also a Cookie Countess stencils from when they were on sale. Those arrived. So I'm going to come back on separate video and show you guys that stuff, because you may want to order a little bit of that, because on the off nights, like just if I'm having a slower week at the store or I have some extra time, I'm going to try to pop on Friday nights or Saturday nights or just one other night during the week and just do some random cookie that you can use all your same stuff for, but I'm going to use a random shape or an Ann Clark's cutter, something that probably most of you have, and just give you another idea of a way you can add to this set. But I'm telling you, when this set is done, you can either do it from a beginner level, an intermediate level, or a very advanced level like what we just did tonight, or you can mix that. And if you come up with some pre-done sets and have them photographed, then you won't have all the back and forth with your customer. You can just say, if this is the 12 cookies you want, this is the price, right? Because you're going to know how long it took you to do it. And then don't assume people are not willing to pay for the fancy cookies. Some people are willing to pay for the fancy cookies, and the price is not going to scare them off, but you need to have all of that information provided for them, because you can't just say, well, I could do a $48 set or I could do a $36 set. Customers don't understand that. They're not thinking artistically like you are. They don't really understand the amount of time that goes into these things. So a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in this case will allow you to charge more money, because they're going to be able to see what you're actually going to do. Please also use proper cookie etiquette. Don't copy someone else's photos. You should never take a picture of something and say that that is your photo if that is not your photo. Please don't do that. I don't want anybody in this group to show up on that terrible page where they out people that copy photos, okay? So great, copy the set exactly if you want to. You have my permission. I'd love it if you'd give me a kickback on the credit to say the designs came from Seriously Sweet or Amy, or come over and follow our group, something like that, just to bring more people into our group. But I don't care if you exactly copy these and sell them. Just don't use somebody else's photos to sell your cookies, because you don't ever want it to come back and somebody to call you out on something like that. And that's a real big problem right now in the cookie world. So just use proper cookie etiquette. Basically, if you don't want someone to do that to you, don't do it to them. That's kind of how it goes, right? No, Jen, that's totally okay. If you're using someone else's photo and their permission and doing credit back to the artist, people are totally okay with that, and they love it when you share. I personally am absolutely tickled pink and thrilled when you guys do these cookies and then feature them in a blog and say where you learned the tutorial. I don't even care if you change them up or if you do them exactly the same. I'm just so thrilled that you guys are learning so much and that you want to do the cookies, because if it's fun, you'll continue to do that, right? That's the main thing about it, to spread the joy of cooking and to really have fun with what you're doing. And I really am so impressed with all of you that are in the Cookie Snack Attack group. Seriously, you guys are killing it on there with sharing information, helping people with useful tips, pulling people a little further along in their cookie journey. I absolutely, absolutely love that. Yes, and Bev, this is very important. I'm going to put this up on the screen so it shows in the video. This is another mindset that you guys have to get set. If you sell your cookies, you are a professional. Technically speaking, the definition of the term pro versus amateur, maybe you meant hobbyist. I don't know. Did I say that? I think if you're selling cookies, then you are a professional. You are putting something out there in the market and representing it as a business. So please be thinking about that. Jennifer is asking about wafer paper. Funny you should ask that, Jen. If you had been in a previous class with me, I can't remember. Jen, what class did we use this little punch in? You might already have this little punch with this little leaf. You see that 5/8 inch, 1.59. What did we use this? The daisy class. Earlier in the year, I used the wafer paper to do the daisy class. So one of our cookies is also going to incorporate an airbrush. We're going to take our wafer paper and airbrush it in shades of green and hot pink. And we're going to punch out a bunch of these little leaves, and it's going to be on one of our signs. So we're going to get yet another texture work done. Okay. So let's see. Got that one. Did I cover that? Did I cover everybody's questions? Hold on one second. Wafer paper is not going to come in until towards the end because it's on the fancier signs that have all the detail on the outside edges. Nadine, I love you. Thank you. Thank you. I want you all to learn and share and grow. There's a lot of talent out there, but sometimes people are afraid to put their talent out there where other people can see it because they're afraid they're going to get bashed. If you're in the Cookie Snack Attack group, that is not going to happen to you. If you want people to help you do something better, just know that it's always going to be coming from a positive place. Because if I see anything that's negative or bashing or something that discourages someone, I'm just going to pull the post. You don't even have to get upset with me. Just know it's going to happen. Please don't do it. I will block you from the group, because the whole reason I started the group was so that hobbyists, people that bake from home, people that have shops, people that just want to create edible art, I wanted a place where all of you could come together and you could start sharing with each other and help each other with different ways to accomplish the cookies. Kind of like what we did tonight, where we have that really basic cookie that's easy to package, but then we have the really fancy artsy one, which is going to be great for displays. But we don't always know how to do all of the techniques. Some people have more time to spend on developing a technique and they're very generous and they just want to share it with you. But then maybe your brain works a little different and you look at that technique. Maybe you don't use it in the Tiki HOT series, but maybe you've already thought ahead, as I do much of the time, and see a technique. And I think to my next big class or holiday and I go, ooh, you know, that concrete texture that we did back in February? Totally dig that. Love that. I'm keeping that in my little idea notebook. I already know I'm using it on tombstones for Halloween. So that's how big the gap is between when I see it and when I may incorporate it. But it absolutely hit me when I saw it, like what I wanted to do with it. And combining fondant molds, right? Another great thing to bring different dimension to this. Let's see. Sally, yeah. And by the way, Sally, if you're still on here with me, can you please put your cookie blog link in this? Because Sally is doing a fantastic job. She is on this journey. She is learning so much, and she is studying tutorials. And I think her blog would really help a lot of you, because as she's reviewing tutorials and then recreating the cookies, then she is bringing that to her blog. Sally, drop that link in here if you're with me, please. I think it will help a lot of people to see that, both people that have shops or are home bakers or are new people or are people who just want to create edible art. this is a new canvas for a lot of artists. They've never looked at it that way before, but it's happening big time right now in the cookie industry, that people that sculpt are bringing that to cookies, right? It's just totally different. There's so many things out there. But I want you guys to check out Sally's blog, because when she's recreating in the tutorials, she's sharing her experience, which will help a lot of you before you start doing the certain techniques and things that she's using. She talks through all of that, like what she's using, what she isn't using. Yes, a safe cookie haven, right? Somebody must have had a question about permission request from StreamYard. You should get that to say, okay, if you want your name to show. Now, I'll see your name over on the Facebook page when I go out of here, but I just can't see your name like this, right? Let's see. Let me show you. So this one, you guys see that where it says Facebook user? I can tell somebody made a comment either in the Cookie Snack Attack group or on my store page, which is the 2 Facebook pages we're streaming live to right now. So, but I won't know who it is till I go over there and read the comments later. So when those reminders come up and you click the reminder, right above the picture for the reminder, it says grant StreamYard permission to show your name. That's what you need to click if you want your name to show. Okay. It's like a pop-up. And here is Sally's blog. I want you to check this out. She has, Sally, forgive me, but I feel like she just celebrated a 12-year anniversary of her food blog. And just within the last few months has started a totally, oh, it's Jen. Oh, Jen, you're on here. Did you like our cookies tonight? Oi. Hi, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Okay, so I think Sally just celebrated a 12-year anniversary with her food blog. Sally, am I right about that? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But most recently started a blog specifically about cookies. So read that, because you can follow her journey in doing these tutorials, and she's going to tell you what she likes about it, what she doesn't like about it, and then you get to see her actual reproductions of the cookies, and it's just so much fun. I love it. And Sally, I love every time that you write me up in that blog. It makes me happy, because my teacher heart gets happy that night. I'm like, oh, look, they did it. They got it. I explained it well. I did a good job for them. I brought something new to them. So it's so much fun. Yes, keep it bookmarked. And she does, let's see. Bev, I know, congratulations. I should have like that thing that you blow that makes all the noise, right? Okay, so let me put the comment up. So yes, she is celebrating a 12-year food blogging anniversary, and then started love of cookies because she just fell in love with cookies. And that's what I want to happen for all of you. And you'll see what I mean when you read that blog, because she just loves cookies. She loves this whole cookie journey, and it's fabulous to watch what's happening. Let me leave this little guy here. Let me show this one just in case something weird happens to it tonight, because you know it could. So this was our fancy cookie that we did tonight. Okay. Let me show you all the dimension we got. Isn't this fun? I like, if I had a noisemaker, I'd lose it. I could just clap my hands and start the 4 little 4-footed furry friends making noise, but I don't want to do that in the video. So look how fun this is, you guys. I really love spending my Tuesdays with you guys. I like doing these really intricate cookies. Yes, it's not something I can do all the time for the store, but these give me so much joy. This is why you can do hundreds of cookies as long as you can come back to the thing that you really love. Let's see. All right. I think I have answered everybody's questions. Don't forget to sign up for the texting. Watch the beginning of the video so that you'll know what happens, so that you get 2 different, you get 2 messages before you're in the final group for the texting. And join our Cookie Snack Attack group. It's free. Great place to share. Do we still have a kazoo? I have a kazoo somewhere, and I have a harmonica somewhere that my grandfather gave me. Debbie, you are super welcome. I'm so glad. That makes me happy, Bev. Thank you. Thank you. So you guys, don't forget, the link is on here to go to the coffee shop. If you're not going to get all of the royal icing transfer templates this week, and what you're going to get next week or the week after, those are going to be the ones that you definitely want to get, because I've added additional fun things for you in the templates. as we go along, but you can get by with just those sets of templates for our whole Hawaiian adventure here for our summer series of Tiki Hot. We'll be doing 2-part tutorials on Tuesday. That's a tongue twister. I couldn't do it twice, I don't think. So anyway, do those. And next week, if you are in the paid membership group of Nancy Westfall's group, next, I'm going to say the wrong day, but I'm pretty sure it's on Tuesday. If you're in that paid group, I'm doing a really advanced Tiki Hot. We're doing it one of the advanced plaques. Now, anything I do in a group that I created special for them, I'm not going to do a tutorial outside of that group because I created it specifically for them as a way to give back to the community. However, I will do it on a beginner level or an intermediate level for you, that same cutter. So if you purchase the full set of cutters or the full set of STLs, you are actually going to get a tutorial for all of those. And please, thank you very much, Shana. Don't forget, if you do buy that set from Dots and Bows, and the link is in here, please use the discount code of SS Class for Seriously Sweet Class, SSCLASS 10, and that's going to get you an extra 10% off the already discounted price if you bought the full set, or if you just want to pick and choose which ones, you can do that too. But just get them all. We're going to have a great summer. You're going to be able to use all the same supplies. Of course, I'm going to be working in candy and some diamond dust, my friends. Thank you so much for all the time you spent with me tonight. Make sure you drop a comment over there. Maybe share this in your feed. Maybe send a message through Facebook Messenger with the link to some of your cookie friends. But cooking is more fun when you do it with friends. So bring somebody else along on the journey. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to come right back on. I'm not going to send you a text alert. This is just going to be kind of for a bonus for anybody that hung here until the end with me. I'm going to come back on and show you a product reveal on what I just got from Killer Zebra. And I'm going to show you a product reveal from my stencils at Cookie Countess. Maybe give you a few ideas of some things you might want to purchase for those bonus cookies that aren't in that set of 7 super fancy designs. Okay. Thank you so much. Cupcake out. You guys have a great night. Enjoyed my time with you. You guys do all the things you got to do. Smash the subscribe button, like it, share it, leave comments, do all the fun stuff. And I'll be back in about 5 minutes.